I'm not even gonna say it. Just play the video. I'll let it be a surprise.
I got you.
Would be one other team you'd play for.
Oh,
Keeping it real.
we are keeping it real. The Lions.
The Detroit Lions. Max Crosby said if he were to play for any other team in the National Football League, he chose the Detroit Lions. That was something I was already kind of getting flirted with randomly last year. And he did say if they didn't bring back AP, Antonio Pierce as the head coach, that he did not want to be with the franchise. He helped AP land that job. Unfortunately, and kind of congratulations to AP, he got the job. He's not with the Lions. But it also goes hand in hand with Kevin Zeitler coming to Detroit. DJ Reader coming to Detroit. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's going to be other names to follow. We are officially, I think, are validified as like a team
we are
that
a destination.
You come and chase a ring with.
Yes.
And not just that, too. Every one of these players, when they came in and did these press conferences with the media, Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell looks you in the eyes. We talk to him, makes you want to run through a wall. Man, Dan Campbell's just a guy you want to play for. You got that dog in him. We've built the hub, bro.
Yeah.
We've built it. It's not like the fucking, and I'm sorry for swearing so much, but like, what's his name? Mike Greeny?
Yeah.
Who's like, the 1 year window?
Yeah.
No, we have something here, and it goes beyond just what you saw last year. There's an actual culture brewing up just from Dan Campbell himself. And you also got Brad Holmes fucking chefing up in the kitchen as well on top of it. Like, this is going to be a sustained success in my eyes. I think Ben Johnson's a big part of that too, but we had that conversation as well.
Yes.
If you're an up-and-coming offensive coordinator, offensive mind, deep, I mean, who the hell? If you're up-and-coming in the NFL as a coach, Detroit's somewhere you want to be just as well. These players want to be here too.
Yeah, it's a spot.
We turned it around. It's just beautiful to see.
It is a destination piece, and it definitely, I mean, it helps that he was born in Michigan, that, you know, he went to Eastern, that he does have some ties to the state. But like you said, the DJ Reader situation and other situations, like, this man set the Lions. How many times are you going to hear a premier player, don't care if they're from Michigan, wherever, say, where do you want to go play? The Lions. I would respectfully give my left nut to see Max Crosby on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson, bro. That would, as we put it on Twitter, feed generations. Like, that would be by far the best pass rush in the NFL.
Bro.
And I don't think it's going to happen, obviously, because of all the money and different things that would have to go through it. But, man, just hearing that, like you said, the players voting Aaron Glenn as the defensive coordinator they would most want to play for. Everybody mentioning Dan Campbell, the situation, the respect Brad Holmes. You don't see the players. You don't think the players see Brad Holmes high-fiving people on the sidelines, screaming in the elevator, dapping people up when he drafts his guys, and like, that's the GM. That's the GM doing that. That's not the head coach. Yep. That's not the offensive coordinator. That's the GM doing that. That means more to guys. Like the guy who scouts you, the guy who wanted to bring you in here. It should mean something to me. Like, seeing that guy get that hype for his players and his situations, it is a culture that has been built. It is an amazing situation, and I'm so happy that the Lions are now a destination spot for free agents and players all over the NFL.
And just one more thing, too, before KG and Nick. It's what we said earlier. A lot of us kind of complained about what happened in the transpired in free agency about not getting those big names. Guys are going to get cut. Guys have, like, with, you know, Max Crosby contracts, because they earned those Max Crosby contracts, they played their fucking ass off.
Yeah.
Good players are going to get cut from teams just for his cap casualties come training camp. Mm-hmm. And guess where they're going to come?
Where DJ Reader wanted to go. Where Kevin Zeitler wanted to go.
Where Max Crosby
wants to go.
The
Detroit Lions.
If you would have told me that Max Crosby 3 years ago, when this regime started, you know, like, I would have never believed this, that all of these players want to come to Detroit. The days of taking low blows against the city of Detroit and the Lions are over.
Yes.
It's gone.
Talk
Greeny, you wrong. This Detroit Lions team has changed every single perspective of them, and I'm fired up because this is just the beginning. We made one NFC championship. This is just the start. Get ready for the names coming and the people coming this way. KG, what you got?
Man, could you imagine Hutch and Max Crosby on the same line? I would feel bad for any quarterback that game. You talking about two guys with the highest motors in the league. Man, that would be absolutely unstoppable. No, will it happen? Probably not. But you never know the future, man. Him saying that now is like, you know, kind of like a wake-up call. Maybe in the future, we can make something happen. But as of right now, it probably won't happen. But man, Max Crosby and that Lions Honolulu Blue, man, sign me up.
And like I said, we don't have to overpay for a Trey Flowers anymore.
Yeah. No.
We don't have to overpay for a Jamie Collins anymore. Because you see Kevin Zeitler, a Pro Bowl guard, taking a 1-year deal of way below market to come to the Detroit Lions. You see a DJ Reader, a top 5 defensive tackle, nose tackle in the NFL, taking a below average contract to come to the Detroit Lions. You see a guy in Ben Johnson, who is the highest touted head coach prospect in the NFL, not taking a head coach job to stay with the Detroit Lions. Because people want to be here, because they see what we're building, because they know Brad Holmes is going to continuously bring in great talent, and this team is not a one and done. Eat shit, Greeny. This window is not closed. This window stays open as long as Brad Holmes is the one making draft picks.
I'm with you on that one, and I honestly got
Let him cook.
what I was going to say, but I was going to tie a name into it. I see him floating out there. I saw Steve Wild say we're not going nowhere unless we touch up the secondary.
They did.
Xavier Howard out there in the market. I saw a report. Don't know if it's true or not. ML Football, however if you guys validify those reports or not. But he's willing to take less to be in a good situation. There's a guy right there. I'm not even talking about again because I still want to draft a cornerback. I've been kind of verbal about that. I think Kool-Aid is on my radar. I'm not Brad Holmes, but he's definitely on my radar.
You can do
but
both.
That's what I want is again grab a veteran piece. So I'd be more comfortable with that. A guy who's been in the game, been in the league, doing things for a while. Xavier Howard, one of those veteran guys, did great things for a minute there. Grab him and just have him mentor the new guy into it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Like have him learn his ways. The same thing we were saying about Hutch. Like Hutch came in as like a pro, no one had to teach him. He was already doing it. That's the benefit of having a veteran. Unless you draft a rookie like that, guys are going to come here. I don't think anybody should be freaking out. I'm not. I know I was only making the case about the Josh Reynolds thing being bigger than people thought. It's going to get addressed, but I'm not freaking out about how it's going to be addressed. It will.
Yeah.
In the cornerback spot too. KG.
Yeah, no, 100%. This is why I wanted the Stephon Gilmore signing because, Amik Robertson can play the outside. He plays bigger than his size, but if you put him in the slot, that's perfect. And then you get another experienced veteran corner. You go draft one in the draft, help bring him up, and then next year you sitting pretty, man. Depending on who they get, I don't know whether they would go first round, second round, third, but like you said, the need will get addressed. Brad Holmes knows what this defense needs. He's the way he's attacked it this year. I haven't seen him attack something, so the way he's attacked his defense this year. So.
Steve Wild says Reader deal was good, but because of his market suffered because of the injury. Definitely the injury takes some hit on that.
Yeah.
But he could get that same deal he got with the Lions in multiple different teams. What did he say? What were the words that came out of that man's lips? When he walked in the room and talked with Dan Campbell and looked him in his eyes and heard what he was saying, he wanted to be here. You want to play for a guy like that. You want to be coached by a guy like that. And that you can't buy that. You can't
Doesn't matter if
get
you
that
have one
feeling.
ass cheek
You
and
think
three
you're going to
toes.
get
I
that
will
feeling
beat your
from
ass.
Jonathan Gannon? Shoom, shoom, shoom. You remember how those guys were looking at Jonathan Gannon when he did his original press
He made
conferences?
those players so uncomfortable.
They were all
bro.
uncomfortable as shit.
He
but
like
you sit
talked
there,
really close to the face and everything.
you sit there with Dan fucking Campbell, and he says, I think about nothing but you guys, man. I've been here before, man. We're gonna bite some fucking kneecaps, man. Like that is funny to us, but it means more to those guys who are actually there.
Absolutely.
You can't pay for that kind of confidence. You can't pay for that kind of mentorship that Dan Campbell brings to these guys.
I think another thing to point out too is Brad Holmes doesn't give out big contracts. Like Brad Holmes isn't paying anybody fat, so you got to know that DJ Reader had more than likely had other opportunities to make more money, or would have had more opportunities to make more money. And Detroit felt like a fit.
Yeah,
and you saw. I don't know if you guys caught it on the Detroit Lions YouTube page, but I think he sat down with Danny Rodgers and he was like tweeting about the Detroit Lions like playoff run.
Yes,
the entire like, as soon as he got injured, he became a Detroit Lions fan. Became a Jared Goff fan, and Detroit was somewhere again. Just felt right. It was a place he wanted to be, and I said it on Twitter too. Right, I forgot who it was. I responded to a reporter. I think it was. I'm like, I was a Bengals fan. I'm like, you think? Because like, he's come back here. He's come back here. We're competing for a Super Bowl. I'm like, you think he's gonna sit and have a conversation with Dan Campbell? He's not gonna want to stay and play for that man. On top of this being a team also competing for a Super Bowl. Yeah. Like, it's a point, and I made this point before, too. Every time we have a guest on the show, whether it's like an interdivision rival or just somebody completely random, they always make the comment about how Dan Campbell is their favorite coach outside of their own.
Yes.
Even guys from the Vikings, even the guys from the Bears, they all have that same sentiment. Dan Campbell's just that man, and pause intended, he's our man.
He is our man, pause. But we talked about it all the time when we heard DJ Reader's coming to Detroit for an interview. DJ Reader's going to come in, sit down with the Lions. Everything you saw, all the fans were saying, don't let him leave. Don't let him leave. Don't let him leave. If you sit down in a room and have an interview with Dan Campbell, you're not going to want to leave because of how much he inspires, how much faith he instills in people, how much of a leader of men that he is.
You have him selling it on top of you just witnessing it yourself on the field. Even as a competitor playing against this team, that's one thing everyone says. Hey, yeah, the Lions, they're tough. They're physical out there. Like you feel it the day after.
DJ, a one-way flight is crazy.
Yeah, I got there. Hey, I'm telling you, I look at the itinerary. I'm like, all right, it's got to be a flight home. And then it was like, nah. And then I kept asking my agent, I'm like, yo, when I'm going to get the flight home? It's like, they said they're going to book it. And I'm like, dude, it's like 5 in the afternoon. I still ain't got no flight back to the crib. Like, I've been up here since 8. I ain't got no flight back. We trying to get this done. I was like, he's like, it don't seem like they're trying to let you out this building. So I was walking by one door, and some dude shouted out, he's like, we ain't letting you out the building until we get the deal done, man. I don't know who it was. I didn't even look at the door when he said it, but all I could remember is like those words getting said as I walked by. It was cool.
That's the statement from Dan Campbell. That is, burn the boats. This is Hotel California. You can come, but you can never leave.
This isn't a joke. This isn't a tweet. This is real life. Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes only booked a one-way flight for DJ Reader on his visit to visit the Detroit Lions, meaning they had no purpose and or intention of allowing him to leave the building. Matter of fact, the guys pointing in the clip, point blank told him, hey, you know you're not leaving this building until we get this deal done. Brother, if this ain't proof that they want to win, they booked this is not a joke. This is something like we ha-ha'd at when he's coming to town. Mm-hmm. Don't let him leave. Lock the doors.
They didn't let him leave.
They literally didn't let him leave.
You're not going anywhere. It's literally like, hey, DJ Reader, I like you, and I want you. And that's like, no Diddy. You keep him here. This is the type of guy you keep here. This is the type of guy you don't let walk out of those doors because of what he does to every other piece of your defense. He makes every other piece of your defense better. Brad Holmes knew it. Dan Campbell knew it. They said you can check out anytime you'd like, but you can never leave. You're staying here for good. And guess what? It worked. And that's not the first time we heard DJ Reader say that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell forced their way into his mind to make him a Detroit Lion. When he sat down with Dan Campbell, when he looked Dan Campbell in the eyes and heard what this man was preaching, heard how this man was talking, heard how this man said, listen, DJ, man, we need you here, man. You would be a great part of this defense, man. We think you fit the culture. You're tough, and we're going for that Super Bowl, man. He felt that. He felt that in his soul, and that's why he stayed here. I love this shit. Well, this is what good cultures do. This is what good environments do. They don't let good talent leave, and we didn't let DJ Reader leave.
And that's one of the things that DJ Reader had during his interaction. He was the fact that, you can have anybody coach up a scheme. Anybody can do that. But at the NFL level or at just any head coach level, you have to coach up your coaches. You have to coach up your staff. There has to be just nonstop. I don't know what word I'm looking for. I got cohesiveness, I guess is what word I'd use. And Dan Campbell has that. He's a true leader of men. He said when he shook his hand, it hurt. She asked him later on in the same interview if you had to pick one of your coaches for a WWE wrestling match, who would it be? It was Dan Campbell.
Yes.
DJ Reader, thank you, first and foremost, for signing here in Detroit. You must have known you weren't leaving. You locked up the deal, but now you're here. They provide that to you, that they wanted you there by showing you that. I mean, what a tactic in itself. Just because that's another piece you wanted too. He got hurt, and negotiations still could have been had with the Bengals. He said that didn't happen. So he hit free agency. He's like, well, they obviously didn't want me. They didn't offer me any type of deal beforehand. Let me just go see what I want, or I guess what's available to me. And he was wanted. He felt wanted when he came here to Detroit. They addressed how they would use him in the offense. In the defense. They addressed how it would benefit him, the team, and everybody else around him. And they also just happened to lock the door so he just couldn't leave. It's how you do business.
And it definitely helps that you were, 5 minutes away from making the Super Bowl last year. It definitely helps that you are, one of the top 3 teams in the NFC, a legitimate Super Bowl contender for the next season. Those things help. When you walk into a room and you see those kind of men sitting there with that kind of intensity, that kind of drive about clear-cut, realistic goals, hard to walk away from. And it's especially hard to walk away from when they take your shoes at the door. So I love this, man. I love this attitude. I love this behavior. I love this culture. Because this is what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are.
Yeah.
They're just bros, dude. They're not, suit and tie. Oh, we'll do this, blah, blah, blah. They're dudes. They're bros. They're guys. They're football dudes that just sit down and freak out and pound the table after a draft pick, that are jumping up and hugging, that are screaming in elevators, that are so juiced with football when they see a guy that they want on their team. They don't book him a flight home because he's staying here and he's going to be a pivotal piece of this defense.
Listen, man, if you weren't bought into the DJ Reader stuff from when we told you to begin with, if you didn't buy into it after we had all 22 films on, you should at least, at the very least, if you respect Brad Holmes and or Dan Campbell, buy into it the fact that they locked this man to the building.
Hey, Brad, did you get me a flight home yet?
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
Quit asking, baby. We locked him in. This is what elite organizations do. They eye a player. They know what he means to this team, specifically this defense that needed to improve. We know the offense is going to remain elite, but the big question to getting to that next step is locking down this defense. And they circled him as their guy, and they obviously locked the doors. You're stuck with us now. Let's go to war. DJ Reader, you, sir, are a lion. Let's go.
Just hearing that provide the evidence to me that they do want to win. And as much as I said go all in, and I thought that meant a little bit more acquisitions, maybe a little bit more higher end talent, they're doing it, but they're going about their way, which is how bargain bin Brad goes about it. He's going to continue to do so. And I think we discussed in this show multiple times too, like possibilities of him trading up in this year's draft. I'm kind of leaning towards that kind of stuff, man. Like, I forgot, I think it was, who was the guy on NFL Network who always does the mock drafts? Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks. They had like a little podcast. I think it's called like the Sticks or whatever it is. But they're just talking about a couple of GMs and like, yeah, there's probably like 17 guys, which is still a lot of this draft class that they feel are like elite guys. Like, they feel like if you're in this draft and you're at like pick 5, like somewhere where a team might want to trade up and get a quarterback, that you'd be safe to move back as long as you're within that top 20, top 17. You're still going to get just as good of a caliber player as you wanted it where you originally were. And I think Brad, we've seen him assess drafts that way, and he's acquired more picks to grab those guys. So I'm kind of buying into a possibility where he trades up and grabs. We've been mentioning games like Jared Verse. I'm out throw Latu out there too. I mean, they did an all defensive draft on that podcast. I don't remember what it's called. I think it's Shooting the Sticks, whatever it is. Latu was number one off the board, and I've kind of been like not as high in him just because of like the age, and I felt like some of his dominance was just that he's basically a pro guy at that point going against college kids. But if he's still being viewed as that top 17 by Brad and company, like, go get him.
Yes.
Go get whoever it is. If it's Terrion Arnold, if it's Nate Witt, I mean, whoever the hell it is, if Brad's moving up to get him, I'm even more happy. Oh, I just saw Dallas Turner in the Woodward Sports Show. Who did that? Chef Talks. That would be crazy.
These are win now moves. These are we got a Super Bowl to chase moves. These are we need better players in here to make this defense better moves. DJ Reader, Carlton Davis, you go out there, you pay the price, you get a top flight talent at that position. We've seen him do it in the draft before. He's got the ammo. He's not worried about what the future is. He's worried about right now.
Danny G, I feel that comment. Danny G in Woodward Sports Chat. This regime makes me smile uncontrollably. I agree. And I feel stupid sometimes because you're just smiling like you're stupid. But it's like, well, we've never had this, bro. And outside of like having like competence, it's also like elite level. Like Brad Holmes just voted executive of the year. Like it's more than just like having the competence. It's also like top tier at the position. Yeah. Speaking of that, and I probably should save this because it is its own topic as well. But like, and I get it. Everyone loves Dan Campbell. We know that by far anyway. But the Fox coaching poll they've been doing, NFL and Fox, they've had like did tournament style, did all the March Madness style for like the NFL head coaches. Style, yeah, bracket. There you go. And you come down to Dan Campbell and Andy Reid as the two coaches. Like everybody in America, everybody who voted on that at least would want as their coaches. And it's like you smile and control because it's real. And on top of that, what Spinney said too, they're also like just dope dudes. Mm-hmm. Like Dan Campbell's funny as shit. Brad, I mean, a little bit more serious, but also like he'll talk his shit, which makes me laugh. It brings comfort to me. I love it, man. We're this is when Greeny made those comments is why I feel he sounded stupid as fuck.
Yeah.
These are the pieces he like didn't take into consideration.
Because Greeny doesn't know what he's talking about. All respect due, like, which is none on this topic. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about when he says shit like that. Because he obviously hasn't paid attention to what they're doing. They weren't building a one-and-done team. Oh, their window's over. Yeah, so all of these fantastic draft picks that every single critic and every single GM has said been the best drafts of the past couple years, they're just not going to be good anymore. He's just not going to continue to do that. Like, that's just clickbait bullshit from ESPN. If you hadn't heard, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson put some tweets out there. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson put out and then deleted tweets about Lions fans switching up fast, all this stuff. But last time I checked up, no one switches up faster than you, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, because when you were first removed from Philadelphia, here's what happened.
That boy paid $5 just so he could get his shit answered. All right, fuck it. All right, my least favorite thing is the people. They fucking obnoxious and fucking I can't stand the fuckers.
That's it. And when you got into a little Twitter spat with Easy, you were trying to go big baller high road. I need 10 grand to sit in the chair, but it only cost $5 to get you to switch up on an entire fan base, which is what you did with the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 2 on it, you're doing all this barking, trying to be big dog, trying to be the tough guy, but you're just a little chihuahua yapping on the porch because you're not doing anything to back it up. Because in your tenure in Detroit, you dropped more songs than you played games. In your bios, you say, I'm a rapper who plays football. And that's what it is, because you didn't do a lot of football playing in Detroit. You did a lot of talking, you did a lot of yapping, and a lot of rapping. On top of that, I know you weren't here for the real heart of it, to understand what Detroit is all about. You threw on the little ski mask, and that was cool for the week that it lasted.
Well, we also got fucking ethered after that.
Yeah, we did get ethered by the ski mask, by the Seahawks. But you don't understand what Detroit versus everybody means. Because you saying, oh, Lions fans are mean to me now. Yeah, we are, buddy. We want you to have the worst season you've ever had in your entire career. This Lions team, this Lions fan base booed arguably the best quarterback in the history of the franchise. You think we're going to hold your hand as you parade through Philly? No. We don't give a shit about you anymore. You're not a part of the team. Good day, sir. Goodbye, sir. Good riddance. You couldn't even start over the guys we got on here now. And all this big talk standing on business, what did you say that made my co-host here go at you? I'm not going to be a part of rotation when I come back. I'm the starter. And then you came back, tail between your legs, as a part of a rotation. So I don't know where all this yapping's coming from, but you're sounding pretty sad. You're sounding pretty butthurt because you're not a loyal guy. You're not a loyal football player. You're a mercenary. You're a gun for hire. You go to whoever throws a bag at you. You'll play for them for a year. You'll say you love all the fans, and then you'll quit and you'll move on to the next team. And that, no shame in that. No cap in that rap. No shame in that game. But don't try to act like you're this godsend who graced his presence on the Lions in the streets of Detroit. You played like 3 games here, buddy, and it really wasn't impressive.
The reason why my man was in the streets of Detroit because he wasn't playing games. Of course you'll be in the hood more than anybody else. You're not active in the roster. You're chilling at home. You got time to spend your money. Take a shot to his teammates once more. I'm not going to give you the super animated reaction to it because this is what he is. This is why I told you he was. This is why I battled Lions fans about. This is who Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is. You played the perfect video to begin it with. When he showed him talking shit about Philly fans right after leaving. And then guess what he did after he got signed? Kissing ass. Oh, I'm sorry, Philly fans. And now here he is talking shit to the same fans that were defending him through thick and thin because not only did he, whatever we took part in, whatever. People defend him for that. Don't give a fuck. I already know how Detroit Lions fans are. We ride for ours. I get it. But you also defended him through the waves and the antics and the bullshit talk. Bullshit talk to his own teammates. The younger teammates that look up to him in Afonso Melifonwu. I'm coming to get mine, almost demanding that starting job. And then there's this part of it too. Because he shot this tweet, Chris, if you got it there, just kind of talking about like where he is in the game as like a top safety. And even when he went at me, it wasn't after I complimented him. So I have no like expectation of him to fail at playing the game. I think he's gonna go out there and ball out. It's just I don't like him talking shit to teammates. Okay, we want to play statistics. Statistically, graded a 39.9 PFF wise in the NFC Conference Championship game. But you want to take it to film? You can step to the film room too. Whichever one you want, Chris, we go with that. We have one from both this NFC Conference Championship game where he lets this touchdown go to Brandon Ayuk. Oh, damn, just missed him. And this one too. And he admitted this on his stream, but this one he admitted immediately afterward. First game of the season against the Kansas City Chiefs. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the guy that everyone's trying to tell me is one of the best safeties in the league, and Yaze, Blase, all that good stuff like that. Oh, damn, that's my bad. That's on me. That's my bad. That's on me. Like, just a lot of this and a lot less action. And when he does play, he is good. I'm not going to take that away from him. But he's not elite enough for you guys to talk the shit you did. He didn't change this franchise around. He didn't bring order to this franchise like some of you people said. That was Dan Campbell. That was Brad Holmes. There are the Bulge Army started with Brad Holmes because that's in existence, right? Brad Holmes, during last year's draft class, sat his giant ball sack on the table. Was like, yeah, give me a running back at 12 in the first round. And then a linebacker. Two positions that are dying in terms of like positional value. That was the order that was brought to Detroit. Not no Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, but this is who he is. This is what I expected. So I told you it was going to happen, and I'm not surprised. I'm not going to give you the overreaction to it. This guy is what he is. And by the way, too, again, good when he plays, but it's very sparingly. Nick's the guy I always like to bring up, like how many games this guy played. Look at his stats and stuff like that. Missed games almost every single year. I think he played one season above like 15 games.
Yeah.
Just one.
And you want to talk about toxic fan bases and fans that switch up or super passionate fan bases. I would say one of the most passionate fan bases in the NFL are the Las Vegas Raiders. Is that an agreeable statement? They're one of the most toxic, one of the most passionate fan bases in the NFL are the Raiders fans. And we got a guy who's pretty damn similar to what he brings in terms of aura and bark and talk from that fan base in Amik Robertson.
Yep.
And I haven't heard the Raiders fans say anything bad about him. And Amik Robertson actually put out a little subtweet based on what Chauncey Gardner-Johnson said. He said, just doing your job will keep you around. Do your job, and making plays separate you from everyone else. Hashtag keep going. That's what we want.
Yeah.
That's what this is. You don't know what the city of Detroit is, Chauncey Gardner. We're blue collar. That's what we want.
Yep.
We like dudes that talk shit because, yeah, that gets you going. It's cool to see. But you also got to go out there, take your time card, punch in, do your job. And you didn't for the majority of your tenure here. You had some flashes. Definitely had some flashes. But like I said, you dropped more songs than you had games played while you were in Detroit. And that doesn't fly well. Ask Andre Drummond how the guys that are 1 foot in, 1 foot out, how their reputation ends in Detroit.
It's not how it goes here, man. And like, you're not going to talk shit, and especially Detroit of all places. That's what we do. That's why we embraced him when he first came here.
Yeah.
We love to talk shit. So like when you go out there and say the things you got to say, we're going to talk shit back. This is how it goes, especially on the internet. This is Detroit. You should, if anything, and I'm not putting out any threats or anything like that, but like when the shit talk stops in Detroit, that's when the action starts. It's like, brother, good riddance. I'll leave it at that. Nick?
Talk is cheap, motherfucker!
Amen.
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 He is who we thought he was, fellas. He switched up so damn quick, and I mean, this fan base had his back. So for him to just completely, that's why you got ridiculed so much, Easy, is because this fan base is extremely loyal when you are playing for us. You know what I mean? And for him to switch up so damn fast and just go off on these fans, I mean, it's just, honestly, it's disgraceful. I hope he struggles mightily in Philly, to be honest. And I hope he doesn't even make the playoffs. I don't know how many games he's going to play because he missed the entire season basically last year. He missed 5 games the previous year, and he missed 4 games before that. So we'll see if he even stays on the field. But Gardner-Johnson, See ya. I hope to never hear the Lions fans' name in your mouth ever again.
Yeah, and like I said, we Lions fans booed arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. You think we're gonna hold your hand as you walk out the door? No, we're gonna let it hit you in the ass on the way out. And you went to a team that we're gonna be competing with for an NFC championship.
Yep.
So, good riddance, brother. Hope you have the worst season of your career.
What up? Welcome to World Red Weights live on WoodsportsCom. I'm Easy, joined by Smo Rax.
Hello.
Young Chris, Nicholas Koloff.
Let's
also
go.
Joined by John Costco from PFF. What up, man? How are you?
Good, man. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. Appreciate you joining us.
How'd you feel about your Browns draft?
When you don't have a first round pick and your last team to pick in a draft, it's maybe a bit underwhelming, but I think I like the players that they got. I like Michael Hall Jr. I think he's going to be a good defensive tackle. I think Zinter can develop into a good guard. He's going to have time behind Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller there to develop into something. And then Jamari Thrash with the 156 pick, I think it was. Really good route runner, like one of the best in the class, and then also excellent after the catch. So, they have a deep team, right? So like none of these guys are going to start for them. Like they weren't drafting for any starters at this point because they're already good. So I like the quality of players they got. I think they're athletic. I think they can contribute, and there can be good solid depth pieces for them long term.
And we talked last year about the Lions secondary and the defensive backs and what was going on there. And now they added a couple guys in this draft in Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw Jr. go on top of guys they signed in free agency, but strictly looking at those two rookies, what do you think they bring to this team?
Yeah, obviously the Lions have like completely revamped their secondary in one offseason, which is awesome because they ranked 30th in coverage grade last year for us. And when you have that, that's like, hey, we have a clear weakness here. We have to fix that. So with Terrion Arnold, guys are mostly an outside corner, had some experience this past year in the slot, but really good long speed, recovery speed, good agility, acceleration, had really good on ball production. Over the past 2 years has 26 forced incompletions, 6 interceptions, 5 just last year for the interceptions, and 15 forced incompletions last year. So really stepped it up in his final season at Alabama. A guy that, like, when you listen to him talk, I love his mentality as well. Like he's going to be a really good player in this league for a long time. So they got a really good one in there in Terrion Arnold and Rakestraw. He's not a guy that's a great man coverage corner, but he's going to be better in the zone. A guy that they can allow for, say, Brian Branch to move around more often than just being in the slot. So I think Rakestraw is a guy that can be a slot type of guy, really good in zone, like I said, and I think he's a super physical guy as well. So he can be a guy they interchange there with Branch, but they just have now some really quality depth with him. And I think he's another really solid player. He doesn't have the on-ball production that like Terrion Arnold did. Just one interception the past 2 years. Did force 16 incompletions over the past 2 years as well. But he's another really quality player, athletic, and going to provide some good depth for you guys.
Yeah, and that's what I think the goal of Brad Holmes was in the offseason, especially grabbing Carlton Davis and Amik Robertson, re-signing Emmanuel Mosley, is to make sure, no shade on this guy, but players like Kendall Vildor aren't seeing snaps in the NFC Championship game. And I think now that we have the depth to insulate that.
Yeah, the biggest thing you look at Super Bowl winners, right? Like, obviously it's driven by the quarterback position, but you've got to be able to stop the pass when you can't, maybe aren't clicking on offense, or maybe take a lead and you got to stop their opposing quarterback from, being able to march down the field. We saw it in the NFC Championship game last year where they had a big lead in that game and they weren't able to hold it. And part of the reason is that their coverage unit is not very good. It was really kind of some unlucky situations that happened for them in that game. But essentially, if you have a secondary that can lock it down, you're going to be able to stick with teams because, if you want to be able to stop Patrick Mahomes in that offense, like you've got to be able to have good cornerbacks to match up. On top of being able to get pressure on those guys. And the Lions already have a really good front seven that's going to be able to get pressure on quarterbacks. So they really needed something in the back end to hold up when pressure doesn't get there, to be able to make plays in coverage. And they definitely did that this year with all the additions that they've made. They've completely revamped that secondary. You often look at this teams that, like I was saying, Eagles number of years ago when they won the Super Bowl, they had a really, really solid secondary. Even 2 years ago when they went to the Super Bowl and ended up losing to the Mahomes, they had a really strong secondary, and it got old really quickly, and that's why they weren't as good last year. And I think you've got to be able to continue to have depth there and young depth to be able to develop that long term and be able to trust it long term.
John, I want to ask, because I kind of went through, and I know there's high expectations for Terrion Arnold. I've watched the tape. I like things that I've seen. But then I look at like some of the greater cornerbacks throughout the NFL history, and I kind of noticed like speed was like a similar trait they all kind of had. With Terrion, he ran that 4.5, and I get it's just a 40, but I guess what does that mean to you in terms of like him being this man zone scheme? Not man zone, just man scheme that AG likes to run. Like, can Terrion still, I guess, be a top tier corner, or is he just gonna be like a solid guy for us?
Yeah, I think that, so when you look at some of the best, like, yeah, some of them can like absolutely burn, and it shows on the 40 time at the combine, but some of them just kind of run a good enough time, like, so with Arnold, he ran the 4.5, that's plenty good enough, right? Like, because it's not just like straight track speed that you need at that position. You need to be able to have turning your hips. You have to have good footwork. You have to be able to position your body and be able to match routes and stuff like that. So like, it doesn't matter how fast you are if you don't know how to recognize what the guy in front of you is doing and how to match that, how to flip your hips, and whatnot. So, there's a reason why some of the fastest guys don't pan out. It's because it's so much more than just pure speed. And he's shown it on the field that he has athleticism, that he can run with some of the fastest guys in college football. And I think, like I said, like, I love his recovery speed and his long speed, because I think he knows how to run on the football field. He knows how to play the football game, which is what you need. And I think when it comes to speed, yeah, everybody likes to look at that 40 time, but it's not the only thing when it comes to especially the cornerback position, because a lot of they're turning and not just pure straight running. And a lot of it is like, when you talk about the 42, like maybe you don't have a great track get off, right? So like it takes you a little bit to build up the speed. So like maybe you're much better just exploding out of a normal position, and you're able to stick with guys that way, which he can do.
I appreciate hearing that from guys like you, because I know that's what you do, literally. They study a lot of these quarterbacks and whatnot. I did want to ask this question, though, because we also acquired Amik Robertson, who I assume was going to start on the outside of Carlton Davis after the Cam Sutton stuff went down. But I guess, who do you expect to start there beginning of that year between Terrion Arnold and Amik Robertson? And can you see one of the guys bumping into that slot spot?
Yeah, I would probably see more Amik Robertson getting put into the slot versus Terrion Arnold, and I think you'd see Arnold starting. Like, you draft a guy in the first round, like, you're likely wanting to see that guy be able to play right off the bat. Amik Robertson he's a guy that's been plays all over the place. He mostly played out wide last year, but he did have a good number of snaps in the slot. So both guys can play both, but I think Robertson, with his size, is more natural in the slot than you'd say outside, because he's 5'8", 183. Like, he's a smaller guy, and generally that doesn't hold up well on the outside for the cornerback position. So he's a guy that's really quick. He's good and shifty. He is physical. So I think that works well in the slot. And I think it allows them to, hey, if Arnold's not ready day one, he can still play outside, and Arnold can get acclimated to playing at the NFL level. But I think Arnold can start day one. I think he's good enough to do that, and I think Robertson then kind of gets pushed into the slot. But it also just brings flexibility with all the guys that they have, because who knows if Rakestraw can start day one as well. I don't think so. Like, I think he'll see like more of a dime time package type of situations. But like with the benefit of the beauty of all this is that they have a ton of options because they have a lot of quality players now in that secondary, and they didn't rest on their laurels with the moves they made in free agency. They really attacked it in the draft with their first 2 picks.
Yeah, and looking at Brian Branch, I see they want to get him more involved to where he's on the field, because we talked about how Kyle Shanahan ran that heavy personnel to specifically take Brian Branch off of the field in the NFC Championship game, being in that nickel spot. Do you see him bumping out to that strong safety role and kind of splitting time there with Ife Melifonwu just to get that kind of playmaker on the field more for the Lions?
Yeah, I think he should not be coming off the field. Like he's good enough that he shouldn't come off the field, and you want him. He's a playmaker. He's a guy that's going to make a ton of plays in coverage for you. He can make plays in the run game for you, and he's big enough to be able to play in that safety spot. And I think he shouldn't be coming off the field. And if you're going to be going into base personnel, Melifonwu should be the one coming off, not Brian Branch. So I get the reason, as a rookie, hey, like give you some, spell you a little bit more, and maybe we don't want you to hit a rookie wall, but I think at the end of the day, you want your best 11 players out on the field. And I think Branch is one of those guys, especially in the secondary. So I agree that I think, this allows Branch to move out of the slot and not just be the slot only type of guy, because now they have a couple of guys they can put in there, and allows Branch to stay on the field and be a movable chess piece.
Who did you have ranked higher coming out of the draft, Quinyon Mitchell or Terrion?
So I had Terrion higher than Mitchell, but like it was neck and neck, like really close. Like I had them right there with each other. I think Mitchell is really excellent in his own right. Both guys didn't I don't think Mitchell ran a great 40 as well, but he is a guy that I can't remember actually. Maybe
he ran like
did,
4.3 or 4.4. I can look it up real quick.
If he ran 4.3, then I'm way off on that. I'm thinking of somebody else who was like highly touted and didn't run super well or something like that. But then if he ran a 4.3, then obviously that's great. But
4.33.
I liked what I saw on tape and everything like that from him. I thought he was a great player. He's from a PFF standpoint, like he was the highest graded cornerback over the last 2 years, obviously against lesser competition. But when he did go up against the higher group of 5, not Power 5 conference SEC teams and stuff, like he held his own. And so I think kind of like with Sauce Gardner a couple of years ago, where like Sauce was dominant every single year of his career with Cincinnati, and like the only question was like, can this guy do this same thing in the the NFL? And clearly he has. I think Mitchell can be that type of, like he can have that same type of transition. I'm not going to say that he's going to be as good as Sauce Gardner. Like Gardner's been the best cornerback in his first 2 years in the NFL, but I think for me it was like more of like 1A, 1B or something like that for Terrion and Mitchell. And I like Terrion just a little bit better, just because I think he's better seasoned, just because of the competition he was going up against. That's literally it. So for me, I think they're both equally like talented players though.
Yeah, I agree. I had Terrion a little bit higher. I wasn't really I thought Mitchell was a little grabby in the top of routes, but I did like Terrion a lot. But the biggest news that has come out of Detroit Lions football in the past week was Jared Goff getting this massive contract of $170 million guaranteed, a $73 million signing bonus, having the second highest AAV of a quarterback in the NFL now, behind just Joe Burrow, I believe. What are your initial takeaways from the Jared Goff mega contract?
This is tough because like I like Jared Goff as a quarterback, so when you pay a quarterback, you essentially have to pay him what the market is, and it becomes like one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. And then does that correlate to him being one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL? No. And he's not. Like he's a guy that's like 8th to 12th best type of quarterback in the NFL. If everything around him is right, he's excellent. And when things break down, if like the protection breaks down or something like that, and he's got to make plays outside of structure, he's not great at it. So it's tough for me to love this contract. I love it for Detroit Lions fans though, because like you made that trade for Goff and trading away Matt Stafford, and Matt Stafford is like a more talented quarterback, objectively than Jared Goff. But obviously you didn't have the success with Matt Stafford that you would like after picking him number 1 overall, and you've had more success with Jared Goff at quarterback, mainly because the team around him is a lot better than anything that the Lions were putting around Matt Stafford. So it is what it is. He's not worth that much in terms of like being the second highest paid quarterback, and he's not the second highest, second best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
But like having the stability for the Lions, I love it because, as a Browns fan and seeing like just knowing like the two franchises are struggling franchises for a long time, and now we're having success, and you're paying the quarterback a bunch of money because of the team's having success, and there's a ton of good players on the team. Going to the NFC Championship game, like just a few different bounces go your way, and you're in the Super Bowl type of thing. Like I love it from that aspect. But it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow when you're paying a guy that's probably like maybe the 10th best quarterback in the NFL, top 2 money.
And I do think it's gonna roll down, because I remember when we paid Stafford the first time, he was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL until like 2 weeks later when Matt Ryan got his deal, and then Matt Ryan was out. And so like Dak still got to get paid, Tua's got to get paid, Trevor Lawrence has to get paid. I think those guys will all push Goff down a little bit.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like it's one of those things that it's only going to be the second highest paid for a little bit. Tua's going to get paid, which he shouldn't. And then you're going to have a number of other guys that are going to get paid as well. CJ Stroud will come up in a couple years. So like number 2 will eventually get pushed down to 10, but it's like, it is what it is. It's the market that for quarterbacks, and he's going to get paid. And I think salary cap's going to go way higher, and he's going to be, it's going to be not much, I think, at that point. So
yeah, I agree.
Like, I mean, great. I love it for Lions fans, and I love it for him, because I do like Goff a lot as a quarterback.
I'm definitely happy for him, like the redemption arc that he's had from being casted away to having some of the best years in his career. I think he's a way better quarterback here in Detroit than he was in LA. A lot of it's because he's more self-sufficient now. But the part of the deal that I like is essentially like it's like you took that Daniel Jones deal and you shot it with a mega ray, just because that 4th-year option is key, and we just don't know how long Ben Johnson is going to be here, and we don't know what we're going to look like without him. So I think it's like an ideal deal for everybody. I'm not tripping on it. We'll still win. Plus, everything we have that's making him work right now, as you said, he needs the pieces around him. It's all under contract right now. So I really can't complain too much about anything,
Yeah, exactly. They can easily make this work. They've got lots of their guys that are under contract. They have the best offensive line in football, and they've got playmakers at the wide receiver position, and obviously now at the tight end too. So like from an offensive standpoint, like talent wise, is probably the best in the NFL, minus the quarterback, which nobody's touching Patrick Mahomes right now, right? So like it's one of those things where it's like, can you continue to just make that team so super strong that you can dethrone these guys? And they have a team now also on a much improved defense to be able to do that. And so like nothing would be better than having a Lions-Browns Super Bowl coming up here soon and anything really. I mean, because you're talking about 2 fan bases that have never gotten to see their team in the Super Bowl, that are 2 of the most passionate fan bases in the NFL. So it would be something. But I love what the Lions have been able to put together, just kind of the similar way that the Browns have put stuff together. They went out, gotten quarterback. Deshaun Watson hasn't obviously panned out for the Browns thus far. Jared Goff has much more so. So it's just one of the things that I think from a contract, players that are under contract and all the pieces that they have around them, it's great and it's working. And I think it's going to be, I don't see it crumbling at any point soon, because they've got such a great offensive line. That's what's key for Goff, really.
John, you're the man. I appreciate you joining us. I got to ask you one real question about our guy, Jameson Williams. It's been a tough make to know what the hell we have here. But this year, it feels like we're going into the season with him as wide receiver 2. Do you have faith in him to fulfill that? And if not, I guess why?
So I loved him coming out, right? And you get enthralled with the pure speed on the field and what he can do with the ball in his hands. The one thing, the way he would not work out is that his field awareness isn't great. And one of the reasons why, like, you would expect a guy like that to be, like, he was good at kick returns in college, and why he's not doing kick returns here in the NFL. Like I don't think his field vision awareness is great. And I think that's what he needs to continue to develop. And part of that is like when you miss a good chunk of your rookie year, there's a lot of data out there that says that like it's really difficult for wide receivers to actually kind of overcome that. And so like you've got twofold problem with him of like not getting much, playing time in his rookie year because of the injuries he had. And then the next year he had the suspension and stuff like that. So like he's just gotten such little time to develop his skills. And you're hoping now he's going to get finally a full time being able to play that he can develop, because I think he's got the skills and he's obviously got the speed and the talent. And I think his route running is really good too. And he doesn't have to be the number, he's not the number one for sure. Amon-Ra is. And then even Sam Laporta would be the number 2 option essentially. So he's almost like a second, tertiary target for Goff, and that he shouldn't get too much attention in that regard and should be able to thrive.
Yeah, and looking at another weapon on the Lions that all of us are extremely happy about with his production last year, even though it started off a little slow, in Jahmyr Gibbs, and he was, arguably the most explosive running back in the league last year. He had the most carries of over 20 yards on the season. Is it crazy for Lions fans, including myself? I'm not going to put Lions fans lumped together. Is it crazy for me to say Jahmyr Gibbs is a top 5 running back in the NFL already?
I'd say he can be a top 10. I put him in a top 5. It's like, all right, you got Chris McCaffrey, Nick Chubb when he's healthy.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry might still be in that conversation. Who else we got? Saquon Barkley. Yeah. Who else do we got? I got to think about running backs. I don't think about running backs very often. I love Jahmyr. I mean, when it comes to the running back position, like, guy can just immediately vault themselves into the top 5 conversation, I think, because if you can trust him to be a bell cow type of guy, right? So right now he's not that. You've got him spelling David Montgomery. So I think with him from a talent standpoint, you could easily argue that. I loved him coming out. I think I'm not huge on running backs like in first round, but you talk about back end of the first round for the Lions to take him, like dude is a stud. When did you take him? You took him 12, didn't you?
12, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you maybe a bit high, but but I love his talent. Like, I think he's an absolute stud, and the more he touches the ball, obviously the better for the Lions, and they don't have to just give him the ball out of the shotgun or up from under center and have him have to find some creases in the offensive line, which is obviously a great offensive line. Get him the ball out in space, and he's just going to make a lot of things happen too. So like, he's got like a skill set like that Chris McCaffrey type has, and only the lack of targets and touches basically is preventing him from being maybe up to that echelon. So maybe I just talked myself into saying he is a top 5 talent at the position. So I don't know.
Let's go.
Let's go. I love it.
I got him in mind. I felt crazy doing it, but I definitely did it.
John, before we let you go, the schedule is obviously, it's coming out tonight, I think at 8, but there have been a lot of leaks out there, and one of the Lions' full
Browns
schedule
versus Cowboys
leaks says that they have a week 5 bye week. I hate that personally. A lot of Lions, how detrimental could an early bye week? Because we had someone in the chat say the last time a team has won a Super Bowl having a bye before week 8 was the 2009 Saints. So like, how detrimental is that actually for a team to have a bye that early in the season?
I've never actually really researched it. Like, I can think about it anecdotally, and I don't think it matters all too much. Like, you prefer it later because then it splits the season up. And I think that's kind of like we get our rest type of thing. But really, like, if you're a team that gets a lot of injuries early in the season and that early rest is what you need for them to get healthy, then it works out great. But if you're a team that has a bunch of injuries that happen maybe in the middle of the season, you already had your bye, then it's obviously detrimental. So like, I don't know, is it a little bit of a disadvantage maybe, but I don't think it's like detrimental at all. I think to me it seems like it's just more like what happens with your team in that season. And I think it really matters more of like, how does your schedule break down? Like, are you getting backloaded with like a ton of playoff teams that are going to be a lot more difficult to schedule later on, or do you get a cupcake schedule down the stretch and your tough opponents are front loaded or something like that? I think that's what matters more, and then how your home and away type of traveling schedule happens. I think that matters a lot more for teams than say when the bye is, even though obviously the bye is nice, but I think how that home and away schedule kind of breaks down is key of like how much you have to travel. Like if you have to go West Coast, East Coast, West Coast or something like that, that's a lot on a team. So I think that matters more than when that bye is.
Yeah.
John, I appreciate you joining us, man. I appreciate taking the time. You got anything coming out on PFF pretty soon here that people can check out? Anything's gonna piss off
I'm writing
fans?
an article. Yeah, I'm writing an article about once a week right now. I did have an article that came out on Monday, ranking like the best and weakest, position groups in the NFL. The Lions had the best offensive line in the NFL, for everybody to know about that. I've got one coming this week of just like the top 30 players over 30. I think that'll probably be published on Monday. So that'll be coming out soon. So I haven't done the research to see who are those guys yet, but I did that with Peace last year, and then I'm typically just doing an article a week. So check in once a week at PFF to find my article, whatever it may be that week.
John, I
Thank you so much,
again, man.
Man, my pleasure, guys. You have a great rest of your evening.
Yeah, you too,
I hope
brother.
we see your Browns in the Super Bowl. That
Yes,
was a
sir.
pun, by the
Yes,
way. I meant that. See you, man.
See you later, brother.
See you.
What up, though, everybody, and welcome back to the Woodward Heavyweights. Make sure you smash the like button. For KG, for Chris, for Nick, I'm Spencer with the Heavyweights. Easy's flipping some cars right now, so KG thankfully hopped on the desk with me today, and we're going to have a good show.
Yes, sir.
The first thing we do got to talk about, though, is the Detroit Lions cap space. What it looks like going forward and going into next season. I believe there's still $31 million in cap space I saw.
Nice.
So that's some money. That's some money you can throw around. That's some money
Absolutely.
you can make some things happen with.
Re-sign some guys.
Re-sign some guys. Maybe go get a receiver. Maybe we'll see. I've been telling people about the post-camp cuts a lot. Like, I think that's where you're going to see them get an edge rusher or somebody.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that's on your radar still free agent-wise that you would like to see them bring in?
I would have to peruse the market to see who's out there still. But I mean, at this point, I feel like the team's ready to go as is, man. They didn't make a move at receiver in the draft. I feel like that was intentional. They did re-sign DPJ. I feel like they got a lot of faith in him. And if you want to really utilize J-Mo like I think you should, then they're going to put way more of a focus on J-Mo at the receiver. The only position that I want them to really address is edge rusher, only because Marcus Davenport, I do not trust the health, man.
Yeah.
And if he proves me wrong, I hope I'm wrong. That'd be great. But as of right now, I just feel like you need one more edge rusher to really complete that defense.
The best remaining edge rushers that are still out there, you got guys like Shaq Lawson, Jerry Hughes, Carl Lawson, Charles Harris. Obviously, I don't think you're going to bring back. I don't think you're going to bring back Charles Harris.
No.
You got other guys like Tyus Bowser. There are still players out there who can make some plays. And we saw the Jared Goff details come out for his cap hits throughout his new lucrative contract. And you could see that in the first year, it's only 10% of the cap.
Yep.
You see that 2024 number. It's a $27 million cap hit, which is under 10%. So it's under Easy's threshold of that 12%. Again, in 2025, it's under that 12%. He's a $32 million cap hit. And then you see it jump up. In 2026, it's $69 million. 2027, $54 million. And then that final year of that opt-out potential, it is a $61 million cap hit.
And come on, we all know that Brad Holmes is going to renegotiate that contract in 2026.
Yeah,
come on, now. We're not taking no $69 million cap hit.
You're definitely going to see something where it's a signing bonus or they flip something, do something around to stretch it out.
Yeah.
I would agree with that for sure.
They left themselves a lot of flexibility. And then even if you look at this year, his original contract, he was going to make $35 million for the last year of his original deal. They ripped it up. He's making $27 now.
Yeah.
So they even added flexibility for this year as well.
And I wanted to ask this to you guys because this is something that me and Easy wanted to see happen last year. I think a lot of us wanted to see it happen last year. It didn't. Me and Easy kind of overreacted to it at the trade deadline where they didn't add any difference maker pieces, when you saw other teams in the NFL adding those different maker pieces.
Yeah.
Do you think they do that this year? Do you think they're all in this year at the trade deadline?
Absolutely, if there's a move to be made. And I want to preference that because, yes, I do feel like he will be more aggressive. We're in our Super Bowl window. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You got the owner coming out saying that. All the players have said that from Jared Goff down. This is your Super Bowl window, so whatever you got to do to get there is what you got to do. Now, hopefully this team stays relatively healthy. That's the only way I feel like he goes into the trade market this year is if we incur some key injuries. But besides that, I mean, if a move is to be made, he'll do it.
I think they're going to pull the trigger at the trade deadline this year. I think we saw that obviously in the draft that he is willing to give up, as he gave up third-round picks like they're candy to move up and get guys that he wants.
Big facts.
Like you said, these next 2 years are the prime time Super Bowl window for the Lions.
Yep.
Obviously, the window is going to be open as long as Brad Holmes is making picks. But as the roster's constructed right now, these next 2 years are extremely, extremely valuable for their Super Bowl window. And so I think they're going to make a move at the deadline to bring over a big piece, to bring over a difference maker. I do think it's going to be on the defensive line.
I think so, too.
I don't know who. Maybe it's a Trey Hendrickson. Maybe it's somebody else. I'm not sure. But when you saw pieces moving around like that last year, I think Brad Holmes is going to put his 2 cents in, and he's going to make a move to stir up some things in the NFC race.
Yeah, and a lot of people slept on this, man. But this came from Ari Mayrov of the 33rd team. He said that they did try to trade for Danielle Hunter, but it just fell through last year. So for the people that's, he doesn't do that anyway, he seems like he's willing to do that, man. We've seen Brad Holmes get aggressive when he knows exactly what he wants to do. So like you said, if it's at a pivotal point in the season or if we have a key injury, I definitely expect him to be active this year because it's all or nothing, man.
Yeah. Nick?
Yeah, speaking to that point, KG, I think you could see a trade if it is an injury specifically on this offensive line. If he doesn't believe in a guy like Colby Sorsdale or any of these rookies yet, that's where I could see it. Because if
a depth piece or
barring injury, say, God, I don't even want to say it out loud, Frank Ragnow goes down for an extended period, I think that's when he would get aggressive because he knows what it means to this team and this offense to keep that offensive line elite. That's when I could see him making a move. But I don't think he's going to do anything drastic if there are no injuries. We've seen him. He is very specific, the type of player that he wants to bring into this locker room. That's why I don't think that he's made these trades. Last season, you say he wanted to go after Hunter. Maybe the Vikings just didn't want to trade him to us.
Yeah.
But there's a specific personality that fits into this Detroit Lions culture. That's why I think it's hard to go out and get that at the deadline when you don't know exactly who the player is.
Yeah,
as a person.
That's definitely something they've come on record and say is that that's why they like paying the guys within, because you don't want to pay guys from the outside because you don't know what kind of person they are exactly as you know the guys that you drafted and the guys that you developed. I mean, Cam Sutton is pretty good evidence of that. He was one of the biggest guys they brought in, and unfortunately he had to choke somebody.
The first person that they gave a multi-year deal to. That is crazy.
And so maybe that makes them even more entrenched in their ideals of only paying their guys. But I do agree with what Nick said about how they had the rumors last year of wanting to go after Danielle Hunter, wanting to bring that extra piece. And I think that Nick was right where he said maybe the Vikings just didn't want to trade him to us. They definitely jacked up the price a little bit. If you're going to trade a premier edge rusher to an in-division rival, you're going to jack up the price compared to trading him somewhere else. So I think they're going to make a move this year. I really do, and I think Lions fans are going to be really happy with it.
I can see it. Another slept-on thing, that they would have gone with Demarcus Robinson in the draft if they couldn't get Terry on as well.
Yeah.
So it seems to be a prime vision on that edge rusher position.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody here knows that that's where they need the most help is at the edge rusher position. Right now, we have a pretty damn complete roster, but that opposite bookend edge rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson is still a piece that has question marks. They like Marcus Davenport, and they think that he can be that, but can he stay healthy? He has never shown the ability to do that.
James Houston, Josh Pascal, all question marks.
Those are guys. James Houston is a specific piece. He is a pass rush specialist.
Yeah,
he's
only comes in on third down, passing down.
He's not going to be a guy that's playing every down out there, and so that's what I think they're looking for.
And you hope that he can just recapture some of what he had that rookie season. It kind of we saw him a little bit in the postseason last year. I know it wasn't a lot of games, but he didn't necessarily look the same. So maybe with a full training camp, he looks better. It seems like they do have some kind of faith in what they have now. But going forward, absolutely, that's probably the position that they'll target, at the deadline if they have to.
Chris, how you feeling?
I mean, it's really hard to add anything more to what you guys said. I mean, I think you guys nailed it, especially Nick talking about the DNA of this team and what Brad Holmes has built and how he's been very specific on what he brings in.
Mm-hmm.
But KG makes an excellent point, too, that this is a team that has shown that they are open to upgrading at the trade deadline. It wasn't what we thought, where it was just them standing pat, not believing. It was, they only believe in a select group of guys. And you're right about the Cam Sutton part of that, too, maybe messing up that equation. But that's why I see, looking at this team, I see, obviously, we all know wide receiver, edge are two of the things that you want to that you would like to improve on or add depth to. And I think they're going to look at that camp cuts, like you said. But come trade deadline, I think if you were to make a move, those are two positions also where it's pretty, I don't want to say simple, maybe that's not the right word, but the easiest to acquiesce to
I get what
the
you
system that they're bringing in.
Yeah.
So it's a good problem for the Lions to have. They're
Absolutely.
They're not looking to get, a new, unless of injury, a new center, somebody that's got to learn everything about the offense, the ins and outs. They're not getting, they're not even necessarily looking for a new tight end to learn all the blocking schemes and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're really looking for the pieces that are kind of some of the most plug and plays type of pieces. So it's a great position for them to be in, and I absolutely believe that Brad Holmes will make a deal if there is a player on the market that fits that criteria. Now, will there be another Montez Sweat where we all look at the box score and go, I'd love to have that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Brad Holmes might not see him like that.
Yeah.
That's a possibility. But I think now Brad Holmes has shown us enough through his off seasons and through just his tenure here that you gotta trust, even if he doesn't make a move, despite how close we are,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta believe that the people that are looking out, because there'll be names floated every trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But if there's not a move made, that it's because Brad Holmes, doesn't see them as a fit in the DNA.
Loose asshole and MJ
bananas.
in the chat. No, Easy did not get fired. He's stuck at his work right now. He's making some sales. So we got KG on the desk in his stead. The keys to wisdom in the Woodward Sports chat. He makes a good point. Going off of kind of what Nick said. He says, I still don't like the offensive line depth at all. The 6th-rounder Mahogany as the best bet to be able to be a competent backup role is not depth, and that's only the interior offensive line. I would say I'm more worried about the tackle position than the interior offensive line when it comes to depth, because, guys, we saw Yodi fill in, and he's not the best, but if you need him for a game, you can put him out there. I think Mahogany is going to be good, so I think he'll be able to fill in as well.
Yep.
They've even used Skipper at guard at some points,
That's
which,
true.
again, is not ideal, but we've seen that offensive line work with those guard positions kind of being a revolving door.
Yeah.
But God forbid something happens to Taylor Decker.
Yeah.
That's what concerns me the most about the offensive line depth is that tackle position. Because if Taylor Decker, if he rolls an ankle, I know those guys play through everything. So if he rolls an ankle, he'd probably just play. But say he breaks a toe, breaks a ribs or something, and has to miss a couple games, who are you putting at left tackle? You're probably moving Penne over to left tackle and then putting Skipper at right tackle or Sorsdale at right tackle.
It might be why Manu was drafted, and I know he's raw, but for them to risk so much capital to go get the guy, then I gotta assume they have a plan for him. So I don't expect him to do a lot year one, but if the situation calls for it and Taylor Decker goes down, then I feel like they're going to try them out there and at least see what they got, man. And also, I feel like people are kind of giving up on Kobe Sorsdal a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's pump the brakes on that. I understand he was a 4th-round pick, I believe. Last year was his first year. He had some troubles. He got thrown in an intense spot, middle of the season. He got beat up a little bit. But I do think another year of development with him, it could also pay dividends.
And we got to think Sorsdale was a tackle in college.
Yeah.
And they had him playing guard, so that might
flexibility.
Maybe he's able to play tackle. Skipper is a tackle by trade, but they moved to guard. So
true.
They got a lot of pieces on the offensive line that they can move in and put in different places, but none of them are like, I have confidence that he'll be able to step up and fill a good role at the interior offensive line. I wouldn't be worried about.
Yeah.
But if one of the tackles has to miss a couple games, that's where I'd start to get concerned.
No, seriously. I get what you mean 100%. But, Nick, what you feel?
Yeah, I think Colby obviously took a lot of bruises last year, like bumps and bruises. It was not a smooth road for him, but we've seen Brad Holmes hit with these late picks. We haven't really seen it on the offensive line.
Yeah.
So this is definitely a developmental piece in Colby Sorsdale where I think full off season, getting with Hank Fraley, I think, honestly, he would be able to fill in a spot this season because I'm going off of Brad Holmes' drafts.
Yeah.
And he is hit consistently late in the draft. I think he probably hit on Colby Sorsdale. Maybe he's never going to be a starting level guy, but a guy that can fill in and be reliable, I think he can get there.
And oh, no, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say if he felt like it was a problem in that room or at least at the guard position, he would have doubled up like we saw at corner.
Double up.
He must have some type of faith in Kobe, so we'll see.
And T-Real BHMB says Mahogany is Jonah reincarnated. And I agree with, like, Mahogany is a vicious run blocker. I don't think he's as athletic as Jonah Jackson was getting out on the edge.
Yeah.
But I have a good feeling about Christian Mahogany. I think he's going to be a good player.
OTA headlines. Like, what will be the storylines coming out of this year's OTAs?
Jamison Williams lights up OTAs.
It's kind of long.
J-Mo, Waymo targets.
Hey, that's gas.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think you're going to see
Clip it.
I think you're going to see him getting a lot of work in OTAs with Goff. Obviously, with that first unit, I think they're going to be connecting down the field. He's going to be running a lot of different routes. He's going to be I think he's going to be out there shining in OTAs.
Nick, you got any? We have to think of
I
sweet
got
headlines now because Speed's knocked it out of the fucking park.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I wasn't expecting
Should've
the
let you go to
headline.
the
Hey,
bullshit
I mean,
one, yeah.
I literally have a degree in journalism, guys. Like,
That's gas. I got one. And you're red.
Yeah.
All right,
helps too, I'm sure.
I'll try to think of a way to reel these together for the headline.
Ennis is raking.
Oh.
Because, listen, all right, you got Brian Branch. We saw him in the scooter. All our hearts dropped a little bit. We obviously know that Brian Branch is expected that he's moving from that nickel spot into more of a full-time safety spot. I expect Ennis Rakestraw to compete for that. I know that's been what he's been playing in rookie camp. That's just rookie camp, though. Obviously, not everybody else there. But I can see Ennis stepping into that slot role and maybe surprising some people. I mean, you look disapproving and you're thinking,
No, I'm trying to think of one.
oh, some sick ass.
Yeah.
Oh, for the Ennis one?
Yeah.
Ennis is
For
raking?
a different one.
Okay,
I got
okay.
one here.
I like it,
I
though.
hope it's
I like
not.
Ennis is raking.
Yeah, I wish we would have talked about these before, but all right, here we go.
Yeah, it's called a prep sheet, Nick. You just look at it. You just look
No,
at it.
Your guys'. I don't want to steal yours.
I'm
all
messing
right?
with you.
We haven't thought of any.
Let's rock.
Yeah, we have it.
You guys ready?
Yeah. I had the heads up, too.
All right, you guys ready?
Sorry.
All right. Campbell is clamping. I think Jack
That's a
Campbell,
good
the
one.
speed around his second-year development, he's going to be clamping people when it comes to the pass game. Guys like a Laporta, guys like a Brock Wright, you're going to see his recognition really taking a second step in his second season. Campbell with the clamps.
Ooh, I got one.
Yeah.
Gibbs is grooving. Second year, Jahmyr Gibbs. I expect him to be a little bit more involved in the passing game, at least in my opinion. Obviously, he knocked the running part of it out the park, like you did your headline there. I think Jahmyr Gibbs, at least for me, I have a little bit of expectation for him to. Again, last year, the hype about him being the pick number 12, when Brad Holmes gone all these podcasts with Peter Schrager or just like Good Morning Football, Gibbs is a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a running back. He's a weapon. I fully expect them to still try to utilize him in that way. I fully expect him to have a year or two under this complicated offense. Gibbs is grooving. He's going to find the groove and be catching the ball, doing a lot more involved in this offense.
I like it.
I got one. Lockdown Davis. I think Carlton Davis goes out there.
You and Nick's messing all over.
Lockdown Davis. I think Carlton Davis goes out there and he shows why Brad Holmes had faith in him, why Brad Holmes gave up what he did to acquire him to be their cornerback one, to be that guy on the outside who could play in man and put some people in bread boxes.
I like that.
I like that one. You guys ready for this?
Yeah.
Terrion's tone.
Ooh.
Terrion's tone when it comes to his physicality and his voice specifically, being a leader already as a rookie. He's not scared to tell you how he feels, and we all know that dude is confident. So Terrion's tone is going to be a big key coming out of this
I got another
OTA.
one.
Okay.
Branching together.
Ooh, he's hurt.
I think they used Brian Branch and his leadership abilities, taking forward with these younger guys, these Alabama guys around the team, especially guys like Terrion Arnold, guys like Jamison Williams, who's, older than him, but it's technically younger than him. You look at these guys, I think Brian Branch takes a big step as a leader going forward.
Okay, I got two. You want to go defense? You want to go scoring? Where you want to go?
Scoring.
Scoring? All right. That's the one I'm not most proud of, but
to go with the fire one.
Run, Raymond, run. New kickoff rule.
All right.
Oh. Khalif Raymond, former All-Pro returner. He's already got some, his resume as a return man is pretty good. I'm expecting him to kind of show out in this new kickoff platform or platform.
I got one.
What's that word I was looking for? Rules.
This new kickoff.
Rules. Run, Raymond, run. Khalif Raymond, tearing it up.
Manu the Monster.
Ooh.
What is the one thing that shows most before the pads are on in OTAs?
His dick.
That big old dick print. The sheer size, athleticism. I think this guy is going to turn some heads. We all know that media in every city, not just Detroit, loves to latch on to guys in camp who are like fringe starters, fringe maybe even making the team. I think Manu's going to make the team, but I don't think he's going to have an impact. But I think he could be a guy that people fall in love with at camp because of his size and athleticism.
Okay. You want my defensive one? Wingo Watch. And I'm just thinking, I'm claiming this one right now. I think we kind of all have, but I'm telling you, this is a guy you just want to watch for. If you're not there at camp, at least when you're reading these articles, whether it be Broder, whether it be Dave Burkett, whether it be Justin Rogers, whoever's putting it out there, keep an eye on what you read about Wingo, Mekhi Wingo. I think he's going to be a dog. We heard it yesterday, or you told me yesterday, he's playing a little bit outside edge just as well as the inside, or it sounds like he's playing just edge. I'm not 100% sure, but I think this is a guy, again, I think he had a 1.52 10-yard split, which is, if he's playing the interior, is in the 10th percentile, meaning he's better than 90% of everyone who's run that 10-yard split. Guys who test well in the 10-yard split typically get off the ball really well and play really well in the NFL in terms of getting the quarterback. Wingo Watch.
Here, I got one. Not like us. I think they're going to talk about a lot of these big name receivers, a lot of these guys holding out of OTAs, holding out of camps because they haven't get paid, but the Lions locked up their guy, all three of their guys. They're all steam forward, ready to go.
What do you got, Chris? You got anything cooked up over there?
Hendon Hooks Goff. His helmet. No. No, man. Though I can't really think of one. I'm trying to think of a clever one for Broderick Martin because
Bod.
Oh, you're the rap guy.
Yeah.
Well, he's so mad.
To be honest, I wasn't
all right.
I wasn't even expecting to get anything off but the Goff hate. That's all I was expecting.
Fine. That's fine. Hey,
we already
Just
went
a
through.
fan says Bagley bruises butt.
Yeah, I told everyone to put the best ones they had in the chat. So if you guys see one, throw it out there.
Here's one. Bates battles Bagley.
Oh,
Bates beats Bagley.
Kicker controversy in camp. Bring Jake Bates to camp. Let him go after it.
Ooh, Richard Baldwin. Manu the Mauler.
Manu the Mauler.
I like that one.
I like Manu the Monster.
ETN, what we doing here, bud? What we doing here? Decker, exciting people's peckers. Yeah. All right. I'll let you. Hey, you're playing along. I appreciate it. How about you speak on Brod the Bod? I like that one, Nick.
I think we already saw the body transformation, but I don't think anybody's like written about it yet and seen it live in action. So I think that's when you get the headlines that people love to talk about. Best shape of your life, especially here in Detroit. We heard it coming out of spring training all of the time. You're going to hear it from Broderick and how he's lost the weight. You see him moving a lot faster. That's what I expect with the Brod the Bod. My bad to go in there, Chris. That was
Here I got one.
It sounded a little.
Aleem the Lean. It's another type of body transformation. He's coming back from his injury. He's ready to go. He's ready to go out there and prove that he is that guy. I got another one. Houston, we don't have a problem because James Houston is going to be ready to go for camp. He is going to be 100% healthy. He's going to be out there making moves, making plays, and looking good.
That's my favorite one.
I'm stealing this one. I'm not stealing it, but actually I'm just reading it from the chat. ETN, he recovered from Decker's Becker, and he jumped into going off Goff, or Goff going off.
Goff going off.
Which I think is a little bit of an expectation for him by this point in this offense. I guess so. But listen, I've already said it, right? When I opened up the Speakeasy Sportsbook, the lines for JG moved in terms of the MVP conversation. I don't think he's going to be MVP. However, I moved out of that top 5 conversation because I can see him touching that. He is, if I'm not mistaken, partnered with or paired with, I think, the longest tenured coordinator, or at least one of the longest tenured coordinators in Ben Johnson. And obviously Ben Johnson's cooking. The more he has that offense, and this is so great for us. When Dan Campbell, we lost against the 49ers, what do you say, that the camaraderie or just whatever it is, whatever C word I'm looking for. No, it's not cup. But regardless, he has that. This is year 3 of that situation, of a book that he tailored for Jared Goff specifically. I think we're going to see him in his bag this year. I think we're going to see the most comfortable he's ever been. I think he's going to be just as good, if not better, than what he's been this past 3 years. So Goff going off.
Quarterback. I got one, and I got the picture and the headline, front page, everything. Buddies with Barry. Get a picture of Barry Sanders when he's at camp, hanging out with Jahmyr Gibbs, giving him some pointers here and there.
Hey, full cam, we'll recreate this headline real quick, the picture for it.
Buddies with Barry. Obviously, Barry Sanders is back. He's part of the fold. He's hanging out with the Lions, doing a lot of different things. I could see him at camp chopping it up with Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, different things like that.
Arnold or Rakeshaw getting a pick 6 on whoever the Steelers put in at the QB. Is that we face the Steelers in preseason, I'm assuming?
I think we played the Chiefs in preseason.
So yeah, we played Chiefs.
It's only 1 preseason game, right?
No, there's 3.
3?
Yeah.
I thought there was 2. Did they change it?
Well, there's 2 where like you actually play your guys, but the third one, it's like the dress rehearsal is now game 2. Game 3, it's like all your.
Oh yeah, we play. Oh,
I got one here, fellas. While Spenny's looking at that.
Okay.
This one relates to the coaches. The boys are back in town.
Giants, Chiefs.
Everybody's coming back for the revenge that didn't happen. We get our coordinators back. We get Dan Campbell back. You get a picture of all 3 of them. The boys are back in town. Let's roll.
Broderick bricked, says Xavier D. It's called the Golfence, says the Rona 99. Terminator Terrion, says Alex Merrill. I like all these.
Oh, you see Dabbers?
No, what was Dabbers?
Rake a straw that stirs the drink.
Woo!
That's a good one.
High praise.
That's a good one.
Can I be honest?
Fire.
What? I guess because obviously Rake Shaw's playing that slot role right now in terms of like the rookie camp. But also, like, remember Terrion played the same spot that Brian Branch played too. I can see him getting that nickel spot and showing out in it. If Amik is a problem, bro, I'm telling you guys. This dude, I follow him on Instagram, follows me back, no big deal, like flex. But either way, every single day, this dude's grinding.
Yeah.
And the last one that I saw, I actually screenshot it. Maybe I'll send it to Chris, but he was like, time to prove myself again. And OTAs this week. He posted that yesterday, Monday. Time to like, this guy fucking stays hungry. Don't give a shit. Like, I love that. And I love that that's what a guy as talented as Terrion, a guy as talented as Ennis Rakeshaw, that's what they got to compete with.
Yeah.
A guy who's coming, bringing that mentality. They got to match it. Otherwise, they're going to fall behind. I love it.
When it comes to Amik, easy. If he has some slip ups early and you guys follow each other on Instagram, you still gonna be. I'm
gonna keep it a buck, man. I think I've always have.
Just making sure.
Is there anyone? I mean, is there anyone I've had a bias towards?
What if Rakestraw buys a car off you?
Oh,
you gonna keep it a buck?
Can do no wrong.
I'm just playing around.
He doesn't blown coverage. The ref fucking didn't call something. Obviously.
Yeah. Is there anyone you've had a bias towards?
Yeah. Like a positive one.
Oh, a positive one.
Yeah, where I won't say anything bad about it.
Not that I can really think of.
I don't think so.
No? You're definitely not afraid to call people trash.
TJ.
Or cancerous to locker room.
Yeah, okay, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. We're okay, what's it going to bring?